Hey, welcome back to What's Wrong with This Picture. I'm Dave Dufour, and with me here is Dennis Guillaume. We're talking about blur. If you're having problems with blur, that's what we're talking about today, blur in your pictures. And well, if it's blur in your life, I don't know if we can help too much with that. Get yourself a better schedule or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Don't run so fast. But anyway, we are talking about blurry photos. And one of the things that you were mentioning between segments is that small cameras sometimes have a bigger problem with blur than larger camera or larger format or
yeah,
whatever. What's the reason for that?
Motion blur. You know, a lot of people out there really love their little point-and-shoot cameras because they can stick them in their shirt pocket or in their purse, and they can walk around and pull them out and take a shot.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of them will discover that a high percentage of the shots they take are pretty fuzzy. Okay, and there's a reason for that. It's not that these small cameras can't focus well, because they certainly can. But normally what happens is if you pull out that little camera of yours, or this one like this phone camera, and I go to take a picture with this thing, what I'm going to find is it's not very heavy. And it's easy for me to move it around. As a matter of fact, when I go to push this button, it's easy for me to jerk the camera. And what it amounts to is we have to get used to, the lighter the camera, the more we have to get used to locking our arms in a way that gives us some stability, and then squeezing the button that triggers the shot.
The trouble is, if I do this, I can't reach anything. Hand me your camera. No, I can't do it.
It can't,
But that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point. You can't. It helps you not to move. Okay.
I gotcha. Okay.
And so when I go to squeeze off this picture, I'm going to do it slowly. I know there are times when somebody wants to catch the exact moment. And it's very frustrating with a little camera. Yeah. Because I want to capture that particular moment, and I never seem to be able to do it. You know, my granddaughter jumping over the hurdle in the race, and I get her heel in the shot, as opposed to what I wanted to get, because by the time I push the button, and the shutter goes off, and it does its internal focusing and fooling around. It's over with. I'm in another frame down the road a ways, and that's the one I get. So first thing to remember is you're not going to get rapid, precise images with these little cameras.
Not generally, no.
There's a little lag. It's called shutter lag, and there's a little lag. But the second thing is, when I do finally push this, don't get in a hurry and jerk it and push it fast. Because what I'm going to end up with is I'm going to end up with this motion blur that we're trying to avoid, that disappoints you when you finally look at the picture and you see that it's just not sharp. It's probably because you hurried up and jerked the shot. Instead, if you'll make yourself squeeze the shot off so you don't know exactly when the shutter is going to go, but it's going to go, you'll get much better shots, and you'll have fewer of them spoiled by blur.
Okay, so cool. All right, so just that's one thing. Now we have another problem with extremely long exposures as well.
Yeah, the other thing that will cause this is when you're doing long exposures, of course, there's a point at which you just can't hand hold the camera anymore. You know, and so I usually like to think of the slowest I want to try to hand hold something is around a 60th of a second.
Around a 60th.
Yes, with practice and with a lot of care, we can shoot slower than that and probably hand hold. But generally speaking, for the best results, if you'll set your camera at a 60th or faster, you'll have better luck in terms of not moving the camera around. If you're going to shoot slower than that, then absolutely get yourself a monopod that camera sits on top of. You can anchor it to the ground, and you have something to kind of stabilize it. That's going to give you a little bit more luck. And as a matter of fact, that's also true when we're talking about long telephoto shots. When you've got this telephoto lens on here, and you've got it pulled all the way out, and you're at 300 millimeters, and you're wanting to take that picture handheld, the image stabilizer will certainly help you, but with a monopod stabilizing you, you're going to get better results.
You've got one really long exposure here that we're going to look at, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is that one? That is this is astronomical photography.
Well, this is the moon, of course. Everyone knows it. The thing about shooting pictures of the moon is it's very easy to make two mistakes. One is to overexpose. You need to stop down a lot because that moon is brighter than you think it is. In order to get that detail, you got to stop way down. Okay. The second thing is you can't handhold that because it's got to be open for a little while.
Right.
And the other thing about that is if you can't handhold it, you better latch on to a tripod. And this tripod is going to be something that really provides stabilization for you over longer periods of time when your shots are taking seconds instead of fractions of a second.
Right, yeah.
And so this is a good idea. They make some nice small ones that are pretty sturdy. And if you get that on the camera on something like this with a long telephoto lens, you're going to have better luck. And then, of course, the other thing you want to do then, if you're on a long telephoto lens, is get yourself a cable release that lets you plug that into the camera and then trip the shutter from here. I'm not touching the tripod, I'm not touching the camera, I'm going to trip it from here, and I'm not going to give it any kind of jerk or disturb it.
Right. Now on our moon photo, you were going to say that there's
one other thing.
One other thing, yeah.
Yeah, when you're doing something that long and you want it to be crisp, the other thing to get that moon to be that crisp is you need to have the ability to lock. I just blew my whole point here.
Okay.
But you know, it went in this ear, and when you know what I was going to say.
The mirror lockup.
The mirror lockup.
There we go.
Yeah, I know. What my point was going to be that the mirror inside the camera can be set to lock up before you trip the shutter.
So it's out of the way before you trip. And
normally what
you've
happens,
already framed up the picture and the picture's on the tripod, you don't need to be looking through the lens anymore.
Right. At that point, you're going to trip this thing. If you trip it in the normal fashion, the mirror's going to go up, vibrate a little bit as it goes up, and then the shutter's going to go and it's going to give you a little bit of shake.
Right.
So to be sure you're crisp, what you want to do is lock up the mirror first, then push the button again, and that will trip the shutter, and you don't have that vibration.
And the shutter doesn't do this. The shutter does kind of this.
Yeah, it's a curtain shutter.
Yeah, it's a curtain, right? Yeah, so it doesn't shake the camera.
So that's another thing that'll help you out a lot. Mirror lockup, and that helps in a lot of long shots like that. Okay.
All right. And also just learning how to brace with your body if you have nothing else to
if you're going to handhold.
Right.
Yeah. You need to establish a comfortable position that lets you lock an elbow up against your chest or up against your body, so that it helps you to stabilize the camera as you're trying to make this shot.
Right.
Then squeeze the trigger off.
So you become your own tripod in essence. So
yes.
Try to think about that. And sometimes, you know, when I've taken pictures, sitting down, if you can get into a chair that has armrests and that kind of thing, that gives you that added stability. Or sometimes, what about like just leaning up against a tree or a wall?
Or anything like that. Yeah. If you can get to something that you can stabilize yourself, lock your elbow into place, and then put the camera up there, you'll have a better shot at getting a real crisp image.
Okay, well, we're going to come back in just a minute. We're going to look at some additional specialized kind of photography of fireworks and even more. So stay with us on What's Wrong with This Picture. Have a question or a comment for Dennis Guillaume? Get in touch at picture@rvnn.tv, and don't forget to send us your RVing pictures for possible use on an upcoming episode. You can also leave a voicemail for Dennis at 877-578-RVNN, extension 704. Follow RV Newsnet on Facebook and Twitter, and you can receive text messages to alert you when we're streaming live by texting RVNN to 72727. That way, you can join us live in the chat room, ask questions, and become part of the RV Newsnet family. Remember, any photos or other material submitted to us become the property of RV Newsnet and cannot be returned. Today's show is brought to you by Angie's List, where you'll find thousands of unbiased reports and reviews about service companies in your area. Whether you're looking for a roofer, plumber, house cleaner, dentist, or even a doctor, Angie's List members share their experiences with each other so that you can choose the service company that's right for your job. Companies can't pay to be on Angie's List, and the reviews come from people just like you who have had experience with the companies mentioned. To find out more, go to rvnn.tv and click on the Angie's List ad.